Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of a peace deal, which could bring to an end the war in Gaza. The agreement includes Israel halting its military action in the enclave and a hostage and prisoner exchange, which could begin as early as Monday. There have been euphoric scenes in Gaza as residents took to the streets to celebrate, while emotions have run high in Israel's Hostage Square, where families have rallied for 2 years to bring their loved ones home. We have reporters in Israel and Washington tonight. We begin our coverage with Middle East correspondent Tlozek in Jerusalem.
A diplomatic drama live on television. Secretary of State Marco Rubio passes the president a note during a meeting with conservative influencers.
We're very close to a deal in the Middle East.
Donald Trump makes a rapid exit.
I have to go now to try and solve some problems in the Middle East.
Later announcing a deal on social media. Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan, the first steps towards a strong, durable and everlasting peace. Talks in Egypt produced an agreement following the arrival of a US negotiating team, including Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and property developer Steve Witkoff. What's been agreed? All remaining living hostages to be swapped for Palestinian prisoners, and Israel allowing aid into Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcoming the deal, writing, "I will convene the government to approve the agreement and bring all our precious hostages home." The Australian Prime Minister among the first world leaders to respond.
There is growing international momentum to bring peace and security to the Middle East, and we must all continue to work together to build on this.
But there's not much goodwill between the warring sides, who won't even talk directly to one another and only agreed after days of shuttle diplomacy. Hamas has called on Trump and the mediator countries to not allow Israel to evade or delay the implementation of what's been agreed, adding the IDF must fully withdraw from the Gaza Strip, contradicting Donald Trump's statement. And Hamas has not confirmed if it will disarm and play no future role in Gaza's government, as Israel and the US have demanded. If a phased peace plan and hostage release sounds familiar, that's because it is. Israel and Hamas stopped fighting for nearly 40 days at the start of this year. But Israel refused to go beyond phase 1 of the plan and resumed bombing Gaza. The distrust has only grown since then, and the situation in Gaza has gotten worse. Celebrations in Khan Yunis among those who've borne the brunt of this war.
This is such a long-awaited moment for Palestinians after years of killing and genocide.
And elation in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, with families and supporters hoping for an end to the 2-year ordeal.
We need first to bring our kidnapped back home and to rebuild the places that were destroyed to stop the war.
Donald Trump promising hostage families in the US that their loved ones will soon be free.
They're all coming back on Monday.
Many on both sides hoping today's optimism is not premature. Tlozek, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Well, everyone that we are speaking to in Israel and in Gaza is saying that this time it is different, that this time there is a sense that change is in the air. And certainly there's an acknowledgement of the Trump factor, that the US president's brash style has broken through the hurdles that have tripped many over in the past. But there is still an anxiety in this community, a fear that this deal will not really be true until they see those hostages freed in helicopters flying over the top of places like Hostage Square to Tel Aviv hospitals. That in Gaza this will not be true until those guns fall silent and the bombs stop falling after those hostages are freed. We are already hearing from far-right members of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government that this cannot be a deal to end the war. That is a fear which is present right throughout the community, even as this elation spreads.
The note was telling. Marco Rubio knew his president would want to know a deal was at hand because he'd want to be the one to announce it. If this does lead to a resolution to the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict, then it will go down as one of Donald Trump's greatest geopolitical achievements. But he's had some false starts this year. Mr. Trump claimed credit for the January ceasefire agreement, but didn't accept blame after it crumbled. He then floated a shocking proposal for the United States to take ownership of Gaza, to redevelop it into a Middle East Riviera. It was dismissed by Arab countries as unworkable. Since then, he has applied pressure on both Hamas and Israel to bring them back to the negotiating table. It appears it may have paid off. Donald Trump always prefers to talk big picture and not get bogged down with details. But with such a complicated issue, it's the details that will determine whether it leads to a lasting peace or proves to be little more than a social media post.